Welcome everyone to episode 1 of Tour Talk, a Valorant Championship Tour North America talk show. I am your host Cameron, and my co-host Jimmy sitting next to me. This is going to be a North American focused talk show about the VCT, and week 1 just happened, so we're here to go through our thoughts on the games, on the events, and of course, Jimmy, we're going to open it up with Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. This was, I think, a really, really good match to open the entire thing up on, because these are, if you look at the top 4 teams, I mean, right, they're the 4 teams that were invited to the event. These are definitely up there, but a 2-0, I don't know. Before this even started, we didn't see a lot of 100 Thieves. I don't think they played a single match, like an official match, after the last chance qualifier, all the way back in, like, October, right? While Cloud9 has been playing other events, but
they've been grinding.
Yeah, they've been grinding. I think so. They didn't play NSG. They played the Valorant page. It was Exit that won NSG. But either way, they're one of the teams that have been playing like some of these more what people call tier 2 events, preparing for this. We haven't seen 100 Thieves. Is this result one of the results that you would have expected from this matchup?
I want to say yes. Cloud9 Blue or Cloud9. Yeah, are they still Cloud9 Blue, or are they just Cloud9 at this point?
I just see Cloud9.
Yeah, yeah, Cloud9. They've been on the up and up for a while, and they had a lot of great individual talent, right? Zeppa, Leaf, these guys are players that you know are scrim monsters, and of course you've heard stories and rumors about them for months at a time, and it was just a matter of time until really this C9 team came into their own. I'm really happy with their performance, and I'm not surprised so much by 100 Thieves' performance. They've been looking a little slower recently, even with their newer pickups. I don't know what they're gonna have to change, but Asuna Go Kill is just like not working anymore. You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Asuna, throughout this entire series, even in their Breeze, which was, of course, Cloud9's pick, Cloud9 won that 13-6 from the second map in the series, Asuna still came out with a +7 rating. It's actually Ethan that I think is a little more on the disappointing side of things as the secondary fragger. I think we can talk, I think we'll have a better opportunity to talk about this later, but this idea of how you sort of model a team in a game that everyone has the same guns and everyone has almost the same opportunities to get the same kills, but at the same time, the agent selection gives you different opportunities in there. At the moment, I'm kind of looking at it similar to Dota's role, where it's not like League of Legends where there's the AD carry, there's a jungler, etc., etc. It's just position 1 through 5 in terms of who gets the resources. And Asuna, as their position 1, always does good. He's one of
always in a prime spot to get the frag. Like, he's always going to look good. I feel like his team's setting him up for it, right?
Exactly. But then there's the position 2 is actually one of the more interesting roles in my opinion. It's generally the ones that on the sky are the KO, sometimes the chamber, though that can be like the position 3. And again, I'm still working through this model of team compositions. But Ethan didn't really step up to the bat. We saw some good rounds from him on Split especially, and yet he ended that entire series -6. And, you know, maybe he just got more deaths than other people because he was putting themselves in situations to try and entry. But either way, I just feel like that might be the missing link, how 100 Thieves found themselves in this result, whereas Cloud9, everyone is basically firing on the cylinders that you expected them to. Zeppa at the top, Leaf right behind, and then Vanity coming in as a new IGL, not at the bottom of the pack, he's right there in the middle, so he's fragging out with everyone else on the team. Do we think that it was just because Cloud9 had been playing these other events heading into this, that they're maybe more warmed up, and 100 Thieves,
I think 100 Thieves. No, yeah, it is a little bit of that, I think, and a bit more of, I think, confidence in the team's synergy as well, obviously, due to them being a team for longer. But also, you got to give it to, I think, Vanity, because especially on Breeze, right, you saw their map movement just completely outclass 100 Thieves. They were like water on that map and always in the right spot, either a flank through the mid doors or somewhere else. Breeze is such a wide and versatile map, and Cloud9 really played it all the way to its extent. It was really beautiful to, you know, take a little bit of a look at, watch those highlights, watch the game itself. And 100 Thieves just kind of looked like they were on their back foot the entire time. I think you made a good point in that they always try to set up Asuna for kills, and Asuna Go Kill only worked because he's such an insane fragger. But if you don't have the support of your team and you're running not a double sentinel, but you've got Viper and you've got Cypher, it's I don't know. Like even when it comes down to the team comp, right? For Breeze specifically, I'm looking at Cloud9's running the KO, they're running the Chamber. Those are two more aggressive picks when it comes down to things. Even a Sky, right, has a little bit like post that nerf has a little bit more of a rough time going around those corners and solo fragging for herself. She works best with a teammate. Zeppa, on the other hand, with the KO, he can aim, he can hit those shots, and he can entry frag like no other, and his team can get that res. He finished that game at 22 and 12 with 10 assists. That is massive value from this character. And of course, Mitch, even though he's at the bottom of the scoreboard, he's still got 10 kills on the round. You know what I mean? He's doing his job as Chamber, denying space and creating a presence on the map. And like, I gotta say, like, even moving forward, I think Chamber is something that I want to see more of. You know, like we've been seeing him come up in the meta time and time again, and I think it's about time that like these pro teams are starting to figure him out and get that value. And KO too, like conventionally we don't see too much of him because Sky has just been de facto so much of the better pick. Maybe that's not the case anymore, and Cloud9's leading the way with that meta for sure.
Well, I think for as far as KO sort of going up and being more of a match with Sky, you mentioned the Sky nerfs, but I think it's also the fact that people are realizing that, wait, I get the info from the knife. Sure, I don't lay eyes literally on them like you do with Sky's Wolf, but you still get readable info. And if it's against a team that you've prepped against, you should be able to extrapolate so much information and knowledge. And that's even before we talk about the actual disarm ability that not only his ultimate, but as well as his knife gives you a lot of opportunities for going in and fighting. I still think Sky has a place in the meta on certain maps, on certain teams, if you really want to focus on the information gathering with her ultimate as well as her wolf, whereas KO's information only comes from the knife. But I still think, I think it's a toss up there, and it could be down to whether player preference on how they like their particular flash to look, or
I think even like KO's like, if you're looking at the team and like if they're playing a little bit more decisively, I think KO works better. Like if you're trying to execute strategies, I believe KO is a little bit more of a committed character, whereas Sky, she kind of thrives in those skirmishes, right? So you take a little bit of a damage and you try to get some info, and you can go back and heal and like regroup with your team, you know, send out another flash and progress off that information, and kind of take a little bit of a not a slower approach, but a more methodical approach with Sky as you clear angles out. But with KO and what we saw on Breeze in that 13-6 match is dictation of the pace throughout the entire match. And I like that a lot from C9. And so I don't know what 100 Thieves has to do now to try and respond to something like that, because I can't believe that other teams won't see that and be like, okay, that's something we can do. And if we do put 100 Thieves in that back foot position, they're going to crumble, which is what 13-6 is kind of brutal. That 13-10 map must have been rough, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm not surprised that Cloud9 won this match, even just looking at the two teams historically for what you can expect from the players. But then when you go into the fact that Cloud9 has actually been playing official events, while 100 Thieves, granted they've been scrimming, unlike some other teams that we'll talk about in a little bit. They've at least been scrimming and preparing, but that's never the same thing as an official match. I think I would have guessed a 2-1 going Cloud9 going into this. I didn't actually make any predictions before this event started because I just didn't think about it. But I hope that I'm not like subconsciously tricking myself into saying that. I think I would have expected a 2-1 result for Cloud9, but I'm not terribly surprised at this. I think 100 Thieves will get better as Ikis, is that how you pronounce his name? Ikis? Their new shot caller from Great Britain is the point. I think once he gets brought back on the team with Baby J as the two new arrivals. Eccles. Oh, so it's
Eccles,
an L.
Yeah, because his last name is Eccles,
makes sense. But a little bit like, hopefully it won't be too long, because even though we do have an entire round robin stage here, you know, you can't wait too long before you get to a position that you're comfortable with. I do think that they are going to be better than this particular result here. But let's move on here to the second match. This one I think is going to be a lot quicker of a conversation. It's going to be version 1 versus the Knights. This one I knew without a doubt it was going to be a 2-0. These are just two entirely different grades of teams, honestly.
Exactly. It's an infrastructure difference. It's all the rest. You know what I mean? Like grades of teams is exactly what it is. Like Gangsta, cool performance across some of the maps, you know, got some frags here and there that were flashy, but like at the end of the day, I think you summed it up better than I could have ever. It's just a team difference. So much more composure from V1. Knights, this is their first time really. I mean, not their first time, and it won't be their last time either, but like they're up against the big boys. You know, this is tier 1 of competition. And so shout outs to them for even making it this far. And the experience is extremely necessary. So hopefully we'll see some of these guys back sometime soon. But you know, back in good performing state is what I mean.
In peak form,
in peak performance. That's what I mean. Like I want to see them do well and not just get completely wiped. That would be fun, but I don't know against who exactly, right? And so version 1 2-0 against the Knights. That's good for V1. I'm glad V1 looked good. If they lost that would have been bad.
That would have been really bad, yeah, honestly. But if you didn't watch the match, it wasn't just a 2-0. It was 13-4 on Ascent, and it was 13-2 on Icebox. And this is in Ascent that the Knights have been on a 29 win streak on, and it could have been even longer if not for one loss that I think happened in overtime. So the fact that V1 allowed Knights to just pick Ascent into this match was a complete ego move. They said, you know what, you guys have been tearing up T2 on this map specifically for the longest time. We're going to show you that we are not scared of it, and that it just absolutely blasting. And I think Knights have looked good on Ascent, but their map pool hasn't been particularly deep. So if they don't have even Ascent to sort of lean back on into these matchups, I'm kind of worried about them going forward.
I don't have the highest hopes for them. You know, if you look at their history of matches as well, anytime, it almost seems to be like a mental thing in the sense, but like when you think of tier 1 teams and teams that you know can compete at the highest level, you see teams like A Crew, Pioneers, you see like Luminosity, Renegades, The Guard, NRG, XSET, version 1. This is their entire loss history. It's like I wonder if there is some part of it that's mental, because there are points in time in their match history that they're winning against V1. You know, 2-1 in the Elite Showdown back in November, like 2-0 against EG. Like there's glimmers of hope for these guys, but it almost seems to be like a mental thing where it's like, you know, this is complete conjecture, so take it with a grain of salt. But I can understand why they would be scared going against these teams like that. That's scary. And so 13-4 and 13-2, while bad scores, I don't think I hope they don't replicate the scores again, because I do believe they're better than that. They have the pedigree for it. They have the history for it. They've got the potential. And of course, you know, the players on their team have made a name for themselves throughout the Twitterverse and beyond, because they're cracked players. So I hope it's not the future for them. It's a tough scoreline, but I'm cheering for them. Hopefully they bring it back in some way, and the Knights put it on for Pittsburgh, man, for Pennsylvania. Like,
yep, that is. Yep, that's where Pittsburgh is, for sure. Yeah. American education system, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, Pittsburgh, they are, right? It is, right?
I'm actually making fun of you, and I don't entirely know myself. You're making me look
now I'm
this
second guessing myself.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, Pennsylvania. Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, we got it. Jesus.
God,
okay.
Lord.
Wow. Strap in, everyone. This is we got 4 more series to talk about at the very least.
Let's go.
But no, the last thing I do want to say about this is that at the end of it all, Penny is still just reminding us from V1 why he is one of the region's best Jets. Absolutely amazing on this. And what's scary, what's terrifying for V1 is that they don't even need him to pop off to win series. In their first match in this on Ascent, when they went 13-4, Penny was 4th on the scoreboard for version 1. It was Whippy and Celsius, who were both positive with double digits. That's frightening. That just shows the firepower that version 1 has. Now, when they go up against some of the more big dogs, like the Sentinels, like the Cloud9s, I think that's the true test for Penny and everyone else. But this is still just a very, very good warm-up for them. But as I said, let's move on. Sentinels versus NRG. This was the first major upset that we had in this entire... No, it wasn't. Sorry. Woo. No.
Almost.
It was almost an upset. NRG did take the first series, which I think was a shock to a lot of people on Fracture, but Sentinels did crawl back, taking the series 2-1 here. But I mentioned this earlier. Jimmy. Sentinels allegedly have not scrimmed at all. At all. They're coming into this, like, I think they started scrimming maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks max before this event started. They took an extended vacation, which, you know, looking at their previous year, well deserved, but you do still need to question how much of an effect that break would have on their performance overall. Will that be, at the very least, even if you don't consider the amount of form that individual players could drop off on their own, you have to consider the fact that you're giving opportunity for other people to catch up to where you are, and they were still able to come out on top in this event. But do we think that they're not going to come back to the Sentinels of old, where they're like even the best team in the world at one point?
Yeah, I don't know. Best team in the world. I don't know if we're going to see them back in that form quite yet. Looking at their performance, yeah, NRG, I'm proud of them. Weirdly, I'm like, okay, it's time. We knew these players were good. Hazed escaped the TSM hellscape, made it to a better place in NRG, and has found success with teammates that can all carry their own, right? That first Fracture game, 13-10 for NRG versus the Sentinels. Look at the scoreboard, and the kill differential is from 14 to 19. That's a 5 kill differential across the entire board for all of NRG. Whereas on the other side for Sentinels, it's a little heavier. It's at 8 with Dapper leading the way at 20, Sick down at 12 and 21. Not the usual performance you see from this guy. Going into the second game, Sentinels at 13 to 11. This is even and of course this is Haven. We saw tons of clips from this event, from this game specifically from TenZ. And looking at the scoreboard, the kill differential is 19 for Sentinels. You know, TenZ really had to pull it out. Like Shazam had moments as well. Sick, of course, doing much better than that first game. But looking at the NRG side as well, right? Super heavy for some at 24. And of course, Hayes down at 9 and 16. A tough game for him as well. But like, I think in the moments, like ultimately the stamina is what got Sentinels the victory, right? This was a close game. And even though Sentinels took that extended break, I believe it's their success and it's their familiarity with success in the face of adversity in their previous years specifically. Like they know they're good. They know they can win. They've been in these series multiple times in NRG. While they've got experienced players. I think still you're kind of, it's not David and Goliath because the difference is not that big, but you're still NRG going up against Sentinels. You know what I mean? Like, it's not David and Goliath once again, but there's something there to it. And so the stamina to keep that up for 3 games is so tough. And Sentinels taken to the limit each and every time. I won't be surprised if NRG come back into this one and kind of shit on them in the next series that these two meet. Given that you learn the most from these close games, right? Not from getting completely shit on. So there's a lot of opportunity for NRG. I can't even say that there was someone specific that I looked to, you know what I mean? It was like the extreme pop off from NRG, but they just worked cohesively for those games.
Well, that's sort of a gap in ability though, because they worked as a very, very solid unit. Sentinels had really good individual plays, and not saying that they were not a unit as well, but NRG looked a lot more like they really were just almost one brain controlling 5 individuals. But they didn't have any one player who could particularly come out and win the impossible rounds, make those clutches, make those amazing entries that just break the site wide open. They have great protocols, but they don't, frankly to say, they don't have a player like TenZ. They don't have a player like Sick, excluding the first map. And so even though I think Android overall did really, really good, some on the Jet had some really good moments as well, they need what I like to call like that X factor player.
They do. They need the Kobe. They need the Michael Jordan, like where they need someone who can get it done against the best of the best and still style on them. And that's why we saw so many clips come out of that match. They weren't like 4K clips, but they were like sick 2Ks in the most stressful situations. So it's beautiful to watch, and that's good Valorant. You know, that was a good ass match, some good ass Valorant, and hopefully we see some more of this because that was great. So good match overall.
Yeah, definitely was. But the second match of the day is going to be the Guard versus Luminosity. This was another 2-0 going the way of the Guard. The Guard was a very hot prospect coming into this. They've been climbing the ranks of not just a lot of other pundits sort of internal, like their heart rank, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Kind of cheesy. We'll go with it. But also the ranks on all these individual ranking websites like VLR, like the Spike, etc. Are you surprised about this result? 2-0 of them just they didn't thrash. Okay, well Haven was 13-1, so that was a pretty big thrashing. But then Fracture got really close, 15-13. Does this result particularly surprise you?
So okay, yes, it surprises me. Specifically because of Haven 13-1. I knew the Guard were good, right? Yeah. We've heard about these players for a long time. Like Trent is someone that's been around, especially if you're on Valorant Twitter. You hear about this kid all the freaking time and how he's bound to pop off, right? Saya player, former Overwatch player, former Widowmaker from Overwatch. So you know he can hit those fucking nutty shots, which he's doing on Jet. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. So in my mind, I wanted this team to succeed. I knew they had the potential. 13-1 on Luminosity, though, was not expecting that. Can't lie. Luminosity is a great team. They have a lot of potential. You know, I mean, a lot of veterans too, not just a lot of potential. Mata, previously Anbox, and the rest. You know what I mean? Like lots of potential on that team. And Fracture is more of what I expected. 15-13 in favor of the Guard. Trent leading the way with the Breach at 25-20. Saya player, that Overwatch player I was mentioning, right under him at 22-18. A close game, but definitely wasn't expecting that out of the Guard. I'm happy for them, and if they can replicate this performance against, because Luminosity is a great team, but they're not like the top of the top. If they can replicate that performance against an even better team, like I don't know. You know, we have yet to see. They're one of the newer teams. Relatively, and we have yet to see if they will scale to the challenge. But like you mentioned, they've been just kind of tearing shit up. So but I don't know, man. That's awesome.
I'm looking through their match history right now, and even though a lot of people are feeling really good about the Guard, and of course after this previous match, still feeling that way, they haven't played a lot of tier 1 composition. A lot of their recent history, match history overall, has been a lot of just like tier 2, tier 3 teams. Yeah, they've played Xset and Knights a couple of times. They played like Luminosity at the end phase at the beginning of the year. But there's been that's sort of been very few and far between. So this is the real test. This group stage here for North America VCT is the real test for the Guard. Like, are they the team that people are expecting them to grow into? I do want to also make that clear. Grow into, like, you don't just qualify for an event and bam, suddenly you're going to be ranked at the very top with the Cloud9s, with the XEnvy now OGs, all those guys. They have some growing to do, but this is definitely a great start for that.
Exactly. And I think, like you mentioned, they just played Xset. And so looking at that, right, looking at their Xset matches here, they lost originally January 29th. The Guard lose to Xset 2-0. Pretty brutal. First game split 13-3 in favor of Xset. Second game 13-6 in favor of Xset. A little over a week later, February 8th, the Guard 2-0 Xset on Ascent 19-17, bro. 19-17. What the fuck? That's 12 rounds of overtime. And then on Split, the map afterwards, the Guard 13 for them. That, if you want to talk about progression, that's some sort of progression. You know, what that says to me is either their coaching staff is fucking elite and figured some shit out, and that they're going to be able to do that moving forward, because I can't imagine mechanically that these players got that much better than this other team in the matter of 9 or however the fuck many days, like 10 days, right? So I'm excited. That speaks to me. That says to me, good infrastructure, good coaching, good IGL. They have good strats in place. Can they execute against better teams now? And so Xset, the reason I'm getting so excited about it is because Xset's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Xset's really good. They, like, apart from that loss to the Guard, they haven't lost since October.
They haven't lost, much at all, really. Listen, I was gonna save this for the very end, but I think it's pertinent to the conversation that we're having now about the Guard. At the end, I think it'll be fun for us to sort of give our predictions of this upcoming weekend. But the Guard, their next match is actually up against 100 Thieves. They play Xset in week 3, which is going to be over a week and a half from now. But the Guard versus 100 Thieves, this is actually, I think, going to be a very, very interesting match, even just from storytelling perspectives, because you have 100 Thieves who have been sort of near the top, not necessarily at the top, but near the top. And with that previous match that we saw opening up against Cloud9, we sort of have questions on how they are stepping into this new season. And then there's the Guard, who are the newcomers, and they're very much on the rise. This next match against 100 Thieves, I think, is going to say a lot for both of these squads. But who do you think you have on this matchup?
It's tough. 100 Thieves and Guard, surprisingly, is a tough matchup.
Yeah.
100 Thieves, not historically, but in the recent history, 100 Thieves have not been so hot. The Guard have kind of been on the come up, but like you said, they don't have a lot of tier 1 competition experience. If I had to call it between 100 Thieves and the Guard, I'm going with the Guard. I want their momentum to continue. 100 Thieves, they've got a little bit of momentum working against them, honestly. And the community sentiment seems to feel that way as well. You know, like, it's kind of cool to hate on 100 Thieves at this point, where they used to be like the cooler team, you know, like everyone was like, yeah, Hiko and Asuna, yeah. And now everyone's like, fuck 100 Thieves. Like, I don't know, like, something happened, man.
It's not as cool as hating on T1, right?
Yeah, like, for some reason.
For some reason, you know why it's cool to hate on T1.
Well,
come on.
I mean, yeah, T1, you know, they've been not doing too hot.
It's decision making across the board is very, very strange. Not even the players, actually. It's mostly the organization that gets a lot of the heat, a lot of the hate, and for good reason. They have, ever since they changed from SKT to T1, it's just been a lot of interesting decisions across multiple different titles. But I'm going to push back on you. I actually still have 100 Thieves in this matchup against the Guard, and at the very least, it's because 100 Thieves has Asuna. I don't think we can expect. I don't think we can expect Ethan to have such low numbers like he did in the match against Cloud9. They're even more warmed up now. That was the first official match. I think that was probably a bit of a wake-up call for them, and at the very least, a good sort of warm-up. And going into this next one, I think the Guard are going to take them to the line. It could be 2-1. I don't know if I can call it 2-0, 2-1. It's a coin flip between the two.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I think 100 Thieves is going to come out on top, just because the fragging ability and the top level competition experience that you were talking about does still favor 100 Thieves, even if the momentum
100%.
is going against them.
Absolutely. And even to your point, I think 100 Thieves might even come in with more confidence against the Guard, knowing that, hey, we're 100 fucking Thieves, you know? I'm Hiko, you're Asuna. This is sick. You know, like, all right, sorry, not sick. You know what I mean? You're right, Ethan, or whoever the fuck else. It's just like, you're 100 Thieves. You've done it. You know you can do it in the clutch, especially. And you're up against who? The Guard? Who is that? You know what I mean? Like, in the zeitgeist of Valorant, who is that? Yeah. But in that same vein, the Guard know that too. They don't have much to lose. But if they win, you know, this is the match we're talking about. If they win against 100 Thieves, that's fucking big. That's big for the Guard. So, yeah, it's going to be a match to watch for sure. But I think, to your point, it'll be close. I say 2-1 Guard to your 2-1 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I do. See, now you're making me think there is the possibility. There's the small possibility that 100 Thieves is going to come into this overconfident because of what you just said.
Possible.
But with the experience that they have on that roster, Hiko especially just being involved in competitive esports for... I say competitive esports as if esports doesn't imply competitive involved in video game competition for so many years. I do still take 100 Thieves, but I don't think it's gonna be an easy match at the end of the day.
Exactly, and there's a world where I can see, like, you know, having tuned into Hiko's stream many a time while he's tilting at competitive queue, I can see him kind of, you know, rosy in the cheeks, kind of heated. Kind of getting a little frustrated about losing to the Guard, bro. We're losing to the Guard. Yeah, you know, like, I can kind of see it getting in his head too.
Thing.
Right, exactly. Cloud9 is one thing. You have Leaf, you have Zeppa, you have Mitch. Yeah. The Guard, bro. Who the fuck is Trent and Saya player? But they're about to find out, so that's exciting.
We'll see. Yeah. So we have two more matches that we want to talk about before we go through the rest of our expectations for this first weekend. This one's going to be not Envy, it's OpTic.
Yes.
The orgs are combined.
Yeah.
I don't know why that meant they needed to change the names. I'm not entirely up to date on that, but either way, they are now known as OpTic, but we knew them as Envy up against Rise. This was the big upset. We saw a tease where Energy almost upset Sentinels. This was the big upset here with Rise taking OpTic Gaming. I have a number of different thoughts on this, but I want to go to you first.
Yeah, like you mentioned, OpTic Gaming, X Envy. Of course, you're looking at a team of Yay, Marved, FNS, Crashies, and Victor. All of these individually, that's El Diablo himself.
That's El Diablo himself.
You know what I mean? These guys are great. Marved, he's great. Crashy's great. But Rise, in specifically the last month and a half, 2 months in this, I guess this in 2022 in their competition, have been doing phenomenally. You've been seeing more and more of Shanks, especially on Twitter, just because he's been getting more recognition, more success. I think the entire roster really of Rise has kind of been riding this bit of support from the community, and it's being reflected in their matches. If you take a look at their history as well, Rise haven't been losing that much either. Yeah. They lose to V1 occasionally. In their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they have a 70% win rate, right? Like, that's really good. And even past that, they won the 5 matches before those first 10. So out of their first 15 games, their last 15 games, they've lost 3 matches. They've been tearing it up, and they just look cohesive as a team. Whereas OpTic, X Envy, kind of have been struggling to find their footing for some time now. This was an important series for them to win, I believe.
Yeah.
Because of that, they have been overall struggling. They did hit a high point, I want to say, towards the end of 2021 when they picked up Yay and found success with him on that roster. They made it all the way to champions, with that team, but since then, it's been kind of quiet. It's been kind of quiet for the Envy side, and I think this was a big match for them to have lost. Really, rising to the occasion, man. Yeah,
I think it's sort of a two header here, because on the OG side of things, where is El Diablo? Like, he's not putting up those numbers that gained him that name in the first place. Sure, he top frag on Haven and he got 23-13 plus 10 on the scoreline, but on Bind and Ascent, he was middle of the pack on both those teams, moderately positive and moderately negative on both. And to be clear, all 3 of these maps were very, very close. So this was not an easy competition for Rise to best OpTic over, but it does sort of give us a sign of what is to come, because on the OpTic side, as I'm saying, Yay isn't at his star power that we've grown used to, but looking at Rise, they have so many solidly working pieces. Neptune especially on that KO, one of the most solid entries that I think you can see this entire weekend, putting up some amazing numbers. And then you also have Derek coming in on the Sova, putting in fantastic numbers. That's not even your Jet player. Shanks doesn't even have all that much that he is required to do when he has this, what I call position 2, position 3, with his Neptune and Derek putting up these fantastic numbers on, the agents that are starting to step a little more into supportive territory. We're not looking at Poise, Superman, like Astra, Killjoy area just yet. But if you have your position 2, position 3, putting up the numbers that Neptune and Derek are doing, Shanks doesn't need to do all that much, which is great. Now, granted, I think we still need to be proven for Shanks that when push does come to shove, that he can step up and really become that star Jet that Rise need from him. But it wasn't necessary in this event. Neptune absolutely just slaughtered the entire thing, especially on Ascent. He was plus 14 on Ascent at the end of it, 13-9 on the final match.
That is insane.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like, I think you hit it on the head, right? Yay, El Diablo, he's just not having those critical moments. And when you're looking at such tight score lines like this, and you see the spread on OpTic, 18-16, that's a 2-kill spread, man. That means in that 13-10 game, they needed Yay to come out big in some of those rounds and pull some shit out of his ass, which, ultimately comes down to, should you need that to win these games? Is it fundamentally, are they missing something? Because by the end of this series on Ascent, 13-9, a seemingly close scoreline, with Neptune at plus 14, and on the other side, FNS at minus 12. You know what I mean? Like that's exceptionally tough. And if I'm not mistaken, FNS is a shot caller as well. And so when your foundation seems to crumble and you can't you shouldn't have to rely on this star player to pop off like this. Like, and I think Bind 13-10 for Rise is a great example of that. Derek at 20 kills at the top of the scoreboard, not much higher than the rest of his team, but he's even playing Sova. You know what I mean? That just means fundamentally their team was playing well together and they were trading out kills. And that's reflected in the assist score line as well. 6 for Derek and 11 for Superman. When you're looking at Ascent on the other side, where it's 13-9, seemingly close once again, on the side of OpTic, it's 17 kills at the top and 4 at the bottom. The assists aren't there either. You know what I mean? It's just like they're not playing as cohesively together.
Well, okay, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily that. One of the things that we saw across this entire series for Rise was that they are a very, very conservative team, and so especially when you're looking at them on the defensive side, it's very difficult for OG to find those openings. And even if they do get a bomb plant, we saw a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm confusing a different game, but I'm pretty sure we saw the most number of flawlesses coming out from Rise on this particular matchup. So I definitely see where you're going with this, but what I mean is I wouldn't put too much stock in those like particular numbers because the way that Rise plays do sort of push the numbers in that direction. Because I mean, this wasn't a complete blow. This wasn't like a 13-4, right? This was still 13-9. Very
true.
Good finish overall.
I know. I think like it's just kind of scary, right? Because Envy, like we were saying before, they just haven't had any momentum. They haven't been really putting up that great of numbers. What does this mean for their future? Let's take a look at their matches. Most recently, they lose to X10, Crit, Ascend. You know, obviously during Champions. It's just like so tough. What do they have to change at this point?
So let's we talked about a couple of other teams, about 100 Thieves and Sentinel on this. We should give OpTic Gaming the same benefit that we have those teams. This is another team that coming into this event as their first official match. So in the same way that we say 100 Thieves, wake up call, Sentinels, a bit of a wake up call, even though they did still win the match. I don't think it was a lot closer than I think Sentinels wanted it to be. OpTic Gaming, this was definitely a wake up call for them. I think there is the possibility and probably the likelihood that this is not OpTic's full form. This was Rise catching them sleeping, or in this case, just barely waking up in the middle of rubbing the dirt out of their eyes. So I don't think that this is going to be OpTic Gaming's form going forward. If anything, Cloud9 still playing up to the level that we expected just shows how important it is to keep yourself warm, keep playing these regulars. I believe it was actually Mimi on Valoranting was saying a very similar thing. She was on her soapbox just talking about how you get good by playing games. And so we saw a couple of these big star teams either get pushed to the edge or in this case knocked over because they were flat-footed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, looking forward at both Rise's games and OpTic's games, it's going to be important to see if the teams actually wake up or not, because their next games are no jokes for both of them. Rise is going up against V1. V1's a tough opponent. A tough opponent. I don't know why I said it like that. Very tough opponent. Internationally, they have done exceptionally. You know what I mean? So to put up numbers against V1 is going to be tough. But if you can do it, especially if Rise with all this momentum behind you, that's crazy. That's crazy. And OpTic's next match, if I'm not mistaken,
is NRG.
Should be NRG.
And NRG already know that these sort of invited teams, these kings of North America, as they were, can bleed. So they might, even though they lost against Sentinels, they might still be fully fueled up, ready to go for this one.
And that's the thing, exactly. What version of Energy are you going up against? And what version of OpTic are we seeing? Because, Energy and EG, they can trade blows all day long, I feel like. I mean, not EG, sorry. Energy and Envy, or OpTic.
OG.
OG.
Listen, the acronyms catch us all.
Are we gonna call it? Isn't there an OG?
The OG is also a European esports organization.
That's gonna be awkward. I
Yeah.
wonder truly why they did go with OpTic. I kind of liked Envy, and they had built a brand for themselves in like Counter-Strike as well. But I wonder.
Well,
not bad, though.
neither team is in Counter-Strike at the moment between OpTic or Envy.
Yeah, after OpTic India, especially unlucky.
Oh, that one was unlucky.
Unlucky.
I don't know. That wasn't any fault of the org.
No, of course not.
Envious Counter-Strike was fault of the org. What was it? What's the story? Like they had, I don't even remember the name, but they just like they didn't even field a team for a year and a half. It was weird.
Oh,
they had like 2 or 3 people on the roster for a whole year and a half, but they never fielded a team, and it was just like, I don't know if they were waiting for the online era to be over or what was really going on, but either way, it was anyway. Neither org's involved with Counter-Strike. They're both in Valorant right now.
True.
Sharing this team, but anyway, yeah. So that's that match. Let's talk about the final match of the previous weekend. This was, I think, my favorite match to watch so far, even though it was yet another 2-0. This was XSET versus Evil Geniuses, and maybe it's just because we saw XSET put up such a great, fun performance against the Knights at the Valorant Rampage. They're coming into this looking really, really hot in a similar fashion that the Guard were as well.
Yeah, I'm happy for XSET. I love Zekin. He's a homie. He lives in Jersey. He's a cool dude. He's young, but listen, talent.
More important than Zekit, though, they have Cryo. Cryo was like one of the best pickups for them going into. When did they pick him up? I looked this up
super recently.
Yeah, let me look this up. When did they actually get him onto the team? December 31st is when VLR.GG says that the transfer happened. So the very beginning of the year, and he has been absolutely lights out, an amazing player. I think if you put him next to neck with Penny, you can really have a conversation on who's the best Jet in North America. You of course have to include Ye and Asuna and those star players in there as well. But as far as like outside of the historical legacy teams, Penny and Cryo are the 2 Jets that are really coming up as like, watch out for these guys. Cryo even ended this series plus 12 across these 2 maps. So great performance by him.
Wild. He Cryo actually, I think across 2 maps was plus 17.
Oh, sorry, no, he was plus 12 on Bind.
Yeah, on Bind alone. Yeah, exactly. He's just ladder demon. We've been hearing about this kid for a long time. Playing on Soar previously. We just knew he was goated, and it was just all about getting him an opportunity where in a team environment that would actually suit him. And so XSET, they've been picking up a lot of younger talent. BCJ, Def, and Aaron, of course, all come with more experience than both Zekin and Cryo, but I think this is a great combo. I love this like young energy that XSET has, and they seem super focused and dedicated, and they're here to tear shit up. And I love watching these 2 kids frag, honestly. Playing both Raze and KO for Zekin and just Jet for Cryo.
Yeah.
I love seeing this duo in action. I like watching the team play. There's a lot of swag involved. Yeah. Feels good to watch. EG on the other side. They're all right.
Yeah.
You know, they're all right. Jogamo, I expected him to do a little bit better.
Okay.
Your boy Dre, previously Luminosity. We know he's a fragger. Couldn't put up the numbers this time around. Of course, it's hard against Cryo and Zekin and the rest of the squad. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't feel strongly about anybody particularly on this team. I just don't have any affinity. I don't know if it's the failure of their social team or like what.
Maybe that's possible. That's possible. But I was going to bring this up though, because I think I see what you're saying with Evil Geniuses, and sort of it's hard to try to kind of track where they are as a team, because between Breeze and Bind, they had some weird role rotations. On Breeze, we saw Boostio on the Jet, but then it was Jogamo on the KO, so you have that as the position 1, position 2. But then when they went to Bind, they swapped with Jogamo going on the Raze and then Boostio going on the Sky. I don't know if maybe Jogamo wasn't as heavily preferred KO over Sky, or maybe Boostio heavily preferred Jet over Raze. But then we also saw the Sova swap hands from Foe on Breeze to Dre on Bind, and I mean, on one hand, this could show good role flexibility, but I'm kind of worried, especially looking at how they performed in this matchup. Granted, only one matchup from the VCT so far, so the sample size is small, but at the same time, I'm starting to get worried that they lack depth within those individual roles, whereas you have Cryo on position 1 Jet every single time, you have Zekin on the position 2, generally the KO, every single time, and you can expect them to frag out as like one of the best 1-2 punches we have here.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Like, you're seeing specifically from XSET just a deeper knowledge of the roles that they've been given, and when they're so comfortable in their skins and they can execute with plans to back it up, you're going to see results like this. EG, I think they do need to figure something out. They just seem a little uncomfortable across the board. But tough game. Cryo was having a great showing. Zekin also. So, hopefully in their next match here, they'll be able to have a better showing. Like you said, first one of the official season. Hopefully we see more from them in a positive way. But EG, I'm looking for a redemption arc here. I want them to do well. I don't see a reason to hate on them. But I want something to happen that creates that moment of being like, shit, I love this team. Like,
I do have to say though, I do want to give props to your boy Dre, and maybe this is just because I have a soft spot for him in my heart because he came from PUBG. I come from PUBG. Right. He was on North America's most dominant team throughout the entirety of 2019. Couldn't perform internationally, but that's North America as a region in esports is not a stranger to that happening. But still, that's
why we play football.
Exactly.
No one else plays it.
Exactly, and that's why we call baseball the World Series.
Yeah, literally.
Even though we know Brazil and Japan can both beat our asses on those.
Japan would, and the DR, bro, don't even get like.
Yeah, man. Listen. That's why we buy those players, but they still play under our flag. Okay, we have tools in place in these other sports. We haven't gotten there in esports just yet. We still have to abide by normal, everyone else considers international and worldwide and all of that stuff. But nonetheless, Dre, I think I liked seeing him on Bind really step up. He was playing the Sova. That's usually what I would consider on the position 3, sometimes position 4, depending on the composition. But he really stepped up when his positions 1 and 2 of Giacomo and Bustio weren't really putting up the numbers. He was trying to make those clutches. And so I think that if they can have him as sort of the foundation and they have their other players, Giacomo and Bustio, sort of on top of that foundation, that could make them into a really, really solid team. Because Dre, before this team, was in those roles previously. So as you said, we know that he can frag out. He's played some of those star roles in the past. And now that he has that experience and that skill, and now he's going into sort of the mids, not quite support, but not quite star role, I think that could be a really good flex position for the rest of the team to play around. But it all relies on Giacomo and Bustio to just take that next step, that next level in their future competitions.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited to see where their progression goes. Like you said, there's high hopes for them. They have the support. They have good players. Can they execute on it, though, in the future? That's the question. Of course, we'll have to see. What is EG's next match, actually? Let's take a look. Luminosity. Oh, fun for Dre. That's fun. If he doesn't pop off that game, I'll be surprised. But yeah, once you got a little bit of fire in you like that against your old team, I'm expecting EG to win that one, to be honest. Maybe even a 2-0. That's what I think. I don't know. Not even going off of stats or anything. I think just because Dre has a little, I don't even know if he has beef with Luminosity, but just for the storyline, I'm going to say that he 2-0s.
Beef or not, it's always fun to beat the team that you get kicked.
Exactly. So just for that, I'm going to say 2-0 EG over Luminosity. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think this is actually the perfect time to pivot into covering our expectations for next week. And that, I think EG over Luminosity as well. I'm going to go 2-0. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 2-1, but I still think 2-0 is the more likely outcome of that match, which means that I think Friday is going to be another day of all 2-0s because the first match, the opening match, is Sentinels versus Knights. I know Sentinels, they had a slow start, but I'm sorry. This is the David and Goliath matchup.
Yeah, 100%. If Knights even win a map here, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, even a map I'd be happy with if I was the Knights. I'd be like, yo, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's like losing a map to the Knights is going to put even more pressure on Sentinels than losing a map to NRG.
Oh,
Well,
1,000,000%, right? You
so
just scored on Kobe Bryant. Like what,
right.
dude? Like
So okay, so let me note this down. I'm gonna save this for reference later. So both of us agree it's gonna be 2-0 Sentinels and
yes,
Knights. Okay,
yes,
2-0 Sen PK.
yeah.
And then you said 2-1 Evil Geniuses over Luminosity.
Nah, I go 2-0. I go 2-0. Yeah,
Okay, I'll stick.
I'll put it.
I'll agree with you on that. Not
Yeah,
as heavily. Like Sentinels versus PK is gonna be
yeah.
a 2-0.
We
But
should we should not bet, but we should use like that like I'm sure they do like fantasy Valorant or something. You know what I mean? Um, we should do it at the end of our episodes, like and just why not?
yeah, we can find yeah, but I'll do some research or see if we
Yeah,
can't make
yeah,
a game
that
out of
could be
this.
fun.
But at
Yeah,
least
exactly.
for now, we're just gonna go off of
Yeah, right.
funsies, right? So the next match, this is gonna be the opening match on Saturday, is going to be XSET versus Cloud9.
Whoo, that's a good one.
This one is gonna be a
I
good
don't know.
one.
You first. What do you think?
Oh, okay, 2-1 Cloud9. I think XSET
Wow,
are gonna take them
okay.
to the limit, but like, come on, Cloud9, they have.
Yeah.
They have Jetta,
You
they
know,
have Zeppa, they have Leaf, like they have
100%.
Vanity, who is like he's still fragging as the IGL, right? Like I think Cloud9 still have this, but it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be a 2-1.
Shit, I think it's gonna be a close game too. It's gonna be 2-1 no matter the way it goes. And just to be contrarian, I'm gonna say XSET.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, because I do believe with Cryo and Zekin on the team, they're two youngsters. They've got this kind of synergy that can. I feel like they're radiating this sort of energy right now, which all players should be afraid of, and I think they are, and I think they're giving them a lot of respect, as well. So XSET and Cloud9, that's a great match to watch. I'm excited about it already. Yeah, 2-1 XSET, man. I think that's gonna be a good ass match.
It's gonna be a good ass fucking match. Like I'm just that one cringe picture of Goku and Vegeta walking up to the Marvel characters fist bumping, and it's like you take the 500 on the right, I take the 500, whatever. Like I kind of see Cryo and Zek in that way.
Literally, there's a lot of energy behind those two, and like because they're so young, because they're so damn good, and they have so much like support from the community too. They're huge on Twitter and on the rest. So I don't know. 2-1 XSET. That's gonna be a close one for sure. What do we got next?
Yeah, for the record, I'm still going 2-1 Cloud9, but it's gonna be a great match either way. The next one is gonna be Rise versus Version 1. Saturday is gonna be stacked.
Fuck, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Gotta say 2-1 V1.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be terribly surprised if Rise win. But I do think V1 ultimately have better fundamentals and will win this 2-1 or even 2-0. I'm gonna say 2-0 V1.
2-0 V1. Okay.
Yeah, let me take a look at their stats. I'm gonna still stick to 2-0 V1, but I need to look at if they've played before.
Yeah, they have. That was like a while ago.
It was a while ago. It was January 29th. That's not too long. 15 days ago, it's a 2-0.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Yeah,
that's not too long. But yeah, I think that's how I think it's gonna go. I think it's gonna be a 2-0 for V1.
Yeah, so that was the qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
There's a qualifier getting into VCT NA season 1 2022. So yeah, okay. Right. So V1 has beaten Rise before. I think V1 are still probably going to come out on top, but I'm actually going to go 2-1.
Yeah. I think there's a very high possibility of that, considering everything we were talking about.
Yeah, that's going to be another good match as well. Okay, next up, Sunday is going to open with NRG versus OpTic.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about this a little bit earlier too. What do you think, Cam?
I got to go OpTic. I got it. Even with Ye not performing to El Diablo levels in the previous matchup.
Isn't Energy Ye's also a previous team as well? Am I mistaken in that? Or
I am not.
I believe he played on Anbox, but I think he
was on Anbox. There is no record of him on
Energy.
NRG unless Jack
No,
just got picked up.
No, absolutely not. No, I think I'm just confusing Android and Yay in my head. For some reason, I think because they were both on Andbox at some point, but
it's possible.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, no, so you're saying even with Yay not performing recently, he's still
that was a blip. Like that's
okay.
I don't think it's reasonable to expect that to be consistent what we saw yesterday against Rise or last week against Rise. I do think it's going to be a close match, but I'm going to give it 2-1 to Energy.
Okay. 2-1 to NRG, you're saying. Okay. I'm gonna go with Energy. Who do you got, man? You got Hazed, Android, Tex. Sam has been having a bit of a moment recently too. Man. That's tough. I'm gonna go with OpTic here. I'm gonna go with OpTic. Yeah, I think 2-1 OpTic.
Okay.
And if they don't 2-1, I don't see OpTic doing well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think for not just OpTic Gaming, but a number of these, like Sentinels, OpTic, and the team we're going to talk next, one of the two teams, 100 Thieves, like, you can have a bad week, but if they underperform again a second week in a row, whether it's underperformance in general, even just compared to expectations, like for Sentinels, it was... Like I think that will be a much bigger of a sign. So this is like the real test. Last week was a warm up. This week is, I think, a better sign of what we're going to be seeing going forward for a number of these teams. And that brings us to, as I sort of tease, the final matchup of this upcoming weekend: 100 Thieves versus the Guard.
Ooh, yeah. 100.
We talked about the storyline, like what it would mean for either team, but now we got to actually put money where their math is. Hypothetical money, because we're not actually betting on this. It's just for funsies. But still, we got to make it official what we think is going to be the result.
100 Thieves in the Guard.
I'll just say it. I'm still going to go 100 Thieves. I think that's what I said before. I didn't actually write it down. But I think I said earlier that I think 100 Thieves is going to take this, but I will give it 2-1.
Okay. As much as I want the Guard to win, I want Trent to do well. I want Sire Player to pop off.
Yeah.
I may even take your point further and say 2-0 100 Thieves.
2-0 100 Thieves. Okay.
There may be, like we talked about earlier, that overconfidence from 100T, which might just fuck them really hard. And Guard, like we said, doesn't have anything to lose really. And if they win, it's massive. Yeah. If they lose, not to be blunt, but like a little bit expected. They're a relatively new team, but yeah, 2-0 100T. There's a possibility Guard takes a map. There's a possibility they win the whole thing. It just depends how mentally prepared 100T come into it. Do they come overly confident and cocky, like we're 100 Thieves, motherfucker? And do they channel that energy for good or for their ultimate demise? That's what we'll have to see. So yeah, 2-0 100T as it stands right now, and we'll just have to see, man. I don't know. I'm kind of scared saying that, but we'll just have to see.
Hey, come on. We all know that the second any of us get any of these wrong, we're no longer allowed to be involved in Valorant at all. We're completely like dropped from the scene. No content, no commentary.
Yep, my rank just like dips. Like I'm immediately gone.
Exactly.
It's tied to our actually real world, our social credit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Credit Karma's going to give me a call and like, thought you had good credit.
No, okay, but it'll be a good match to watch for sure. 100T in the Guard, 2-0 100T at the end of the day, I believe. We'll see.
I'm still setting an alarm, like officially for Xhead versus Cloud9. Like I'm gonna turn off all my notifications. That one's gonna be the match to watch. But I think we are gonna have a couple of good matches. Friday, I think Friday's gonna be a little. That's the pre-show. That's the local band that opens up for the big touring band.
Yeah. I don't really care about any of those teams. Sentinels are gonna watch Knights, EG and Luminosity, whatever. Like really, I just don't like either of those teams. I think they just need to work harder on their branding or something. Like Xset seems cool. Cloud9 is fucking Cloud9. V1 they have done well, and Rise has Shanks and like a bunch of weirdos. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. They got to work on something with the branding there, but
yeah, that's it. Well,
that's all I got.
That's a really good place to end this. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will be back next week after we see the results. We're going to be sort of bantering with each other, depending on how these predictions go. Though we do share a lot of predictions. I don't think we diverge too much. There's, I think, only one matchup that we actually have a difference on who's going to be the overall winner, which is Xhead versus Cloud9. But again, thank you for watching, everyone, and we will see you next time.